Hi everyone, welcome to the visual guide for Alexander the Breath of the Creator Savage, also known as A10S. It's easy to fall into the trap of ignorance on this fight, but with my lame puns and guidance, you'll steamroll right through him in no time. My name is Ms. Tech and I'll be your raid guide. You'll notice 3 traps on the platform. In the north, the trap will activate the 2 ice turrets on either side of the arena, hitting anyone on the outer edges. The center trap will call down the wrecking balls over the platform, hitting anyone caught in the center of the room. The trap in the south will root all players in place for 5 seconds. All of these traps can be accidentally triggered by both the boss and players running over them, so watch your step. Throughout the fight, you'll have to either use these traps to handle specific mechanics or dodge out of the traps triggered by the boss himself. This encounter is all about awareness and quickly reacting to what comes next, so keep your eyes open. Another major component of this encounter is the charge mechanic. You'll see the boss casting single charge, double charge, or triple charge. During each of these casts, the boss will show you what to expect once the cast is complete by using very specific visual indicators. The type of charge will determine how many mechanics to expect in succession. For example, single charge will have 1 mechanic to dodge, while triple charge will have 3 mechanics to dodge in a row. The possible charge mechanics are as follows. Critical Wrath is denoted by this blue and white circle, with chevrons pointing outwards. This attack will target all players for critical wrath. Damage that must be spread apart to avoid overlapping. Bomb Toss is denoted by this orangey yellow circle, with chevrons pointing inwards. This attack will target the furthest player with a huge bomb damage that is split between players hit. To survive, players will need to stack in to share that damage. GOBSWIPE CONKLOPS is denoted by a simple green circle. This attack is a donut or mid-range attack that will do high damage and knock back any player's hit. To avoid, players must stack into melee range. GOBSPIN WHOOSHDROPS is denoted by a red circle with a triangle in its center. This attack is a point-blank AoE around the boss, and all players must move out of melee range to avoid the damage and knockback. You'll need to recognize these symbols throughout the entire fight, so getting used to them early is key to success. Now that we have the major points of the encounter down, let's look at what we actually have to deal with in each phase. Tanks and healers will have to watch out for Goblin Rush and GOBRUSH Rush Gob. Goblin Rush is a mild to moderate 3-hit attack on the primary target. GOBRUSH is a high damage tank buster, and appropriate cooldowns will be necessary to mitigate the damage. These will occur at set intervals throughout the fight. GOBSWAY RUMBLEROCKS is an AoE blast that deals mild to moderate rate damage. Healers will have to deal with this throughout the entire fight as well. Next up, the boss will cast single charge. Players will need to look out for the visual indicator and move appropriately. This first single charge will either be the stack in or spread out mechanic. Next up, Lamebricks will cast Trap. This cast indicates he will jump to a specific trap and activate its respective mechanic. The first trap he activates will be the ground spikes. Immediately after, he'll cast another single charge. This single charge will be whatever of the 2 mechanics he didn't cast first. Since players are about to be rooted in place, they'll have to pre-position appropriately to ensure they're in a safe spot when the floor spikes come up. Next, the primary tank will be marked as prey and become tethered to the boss for proximity damage. The off-tank will provoke here while the other tank either runs away or uses an immunity. Other players need to ensure they're not getting dissected by the tank tether to avoid death. Lamebricks will then cast his next trap. This time, he'll jump onto the ice trap. You'll notice that during the cast, he'll cover the center of the platform with large AoEs in an attempt to force players onto the outside. Luckily, these explode a second before the turrets activate, and players can immediately move into the center when it's safe to avoid the ice turret blasts. Next up, the boss will call down a number of invulnerable clones and begin to cast GOBSNICK LEGHOPS. All players will be debuffed with extreme caution. Any movement, cast, or even auto attack at the end of the cast will immediately cause the clones to kill the player. As such, make sure you are doing absolutely nothing at the end of his cast. Immediately after, Lamebricks will leap to a random area of the platform, leaving behind a clone ad and begin to cast single charge. This charge attack is the green in mechanic, and players will need to be ready to immediately follow the boss and stack into melee range. The off-tank will be picking up the clone ad during this time. Once the donut attack goes out, the off-tank will need to move the clone ad away from the boss as they buff each other's damage when too close, and face him away from the raid. This clone ad will cast GOBSWIPE Spray Mops, a 270-degree frontal attack. Facing him away from the boss and the raid will allow easy dodging of this mechanic. The raid will focus down the clone ad before returning to the boss. Next up, the boss will cast Trap. this time triggering the Wrecking Balls. Again, he will form AoE circles on the outer edge of the platform to force players under the Wrecking Balls, but don't let them trick you. These AoEs do not explode until after the Wrecking Balls come down, so wait on the outer edge until the balls drop, then move into the safe zone, being careful not to trigger any additional traps. Tanks will deal with another prey and tank swap here, and eventually the boss will cast double charge. This time, players will have to deal with the green in and red out mechanics in a random order. Watch for the order of the visual indicators come up, and then move appropriately. Another leap to a random location, and the boss will either cast single charge with a green in marker, or summon his clones and cast GOBSNICK LEGHOPS again. Be sure to follow the boss in case it is the single charge. Otherwise, do nothing if you're afflicted by extreme caution. Once the boss reaches 60%, he will become invulnerable. On the opposite end of the platform, the GOBPRESS R6 will spawn and begin to cast Steamroller. At the end of each Steamroller cast, the GOBPRESS will move forward, destroying anything in its path. This phase acts as a mini DPS check, and you'll need to destroy the GOBPRESS before you run out of room on the platform. In this phase, the ground traps are also inactive. During this time, the 2 healers will be marked for prey and eventually targeted by fire puddles. When the fire puddles drop, they'll be debuffed and won't be able to survive another fire drop. As such, they'll have to drop their prey on 2 new players before the next hit. All other players will need to move out of melee range before the GOBPRESS moves up, or they will die. The boss will also target random players with Illuminati hand cannon. Move out of this AoE as necessary. This phase will repeat until the GOBPRESS is destroyed or you die. Once the GOBPRESS is down, Lame Bricks will become active again and the fight continues. Here he will cast Triple Charge. Triple Charge can follow one of 2 patterns: the red out into a spread out into green in, or green in, red out into a stack in. Watch closely for the pattern of markers and then move appropriately. Lame Bricks will leap away again, spawning yet another clone and begin casting Single Charge. All players will move into melee range. The off-tank will again pull the clone ad to face away from the boss while everyone focuses it down. At this point, Lame Bricks will cast GOBSPIN ZOOMDROPS. He will turn into a Whirlwind, tether onto a random player, and slowly make his way towards them. If he gets too close, he will knock back and deal damage to anyone in melee range. The only way to knock him out of this state is to hit him in the face with the ice turrets. We have our main tank intercept the tether and lead him to the outer edge of the arena while an assigned player triggers the ice trap when appropriate. Once the boss is knocked out, the fight will continue. Eventually, he will leap to the north of the platform and begin to cast GOBSLICE Mooncrops. This deals high damage and will attempt to knock players into the outer edges of the platform. To avoid this, an assigned player will trigger the floor spikes to root everyone in place. Another leap and the boss will again cast Single Charge or GOBSNICK LEGHOPS. Be ready to run into melee range or stop all movement. At around 30%, Lame Bricks will summon a number of wall spawns in the east and west. These will slice across the platform and deal high damage and knock back any player's hit. These wall saws are essentially dividing the platform into 3 sections. To prepare for this, we have the melee and boss in the center section, and 2 groups of a healer and ranged in each adjacent section. This will give us plenty of room to deal with the incoming mechanics while the wall saws are active. Dodge the Illuminati hand cannon. Healers will be targeted for prey again, and will pass their prey to their respective range players once their fire puddles drop. Melee and tanks will have to watch out for the single charge during this time, which will always be the red out mechanic. Tanking him on one edge of the section will give players enough room to run to the other side to dodge the red mechanic. Eventually, the wall saws disappear and the platform returns to normal. Tanks will deal with another prey and tank swap. Next up, Lame Bricks will cast Trap, but this time will trigger 2 traps in a row, ice turrets and then wrecking balls. You've dealt with both of these mechanics before, so now it's just a matter of putting that knowledge all together to handle the dance. After this dance, 3 ads will spawn in the north. These ads are debuffed with damage taken down and will enrage and wipe the raid in 30 seconds. To handle this, players must activate the wrecking balls and force the ads to get hit by them. Doing so will remove their damage taken down debuff, allowing you to kill them easily. During this time, Lame Bricks will also try to kill you by casting another GOBSNICK LEGHOPS. Remember to stop moving. Immediately after, the wall saws will return and players will need to make sure they're not getting sliced up by them. Once the wall saws disappear, be on the lookout for another triple charge. Watch for the visual markers and then move appropriately. At this point, you've seen every mechanic of the fight, and it repeats until the boss is down. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If you'd prefer a more in-depth analysis of the fight, please visit the text version of this guide linked in the description below. Up next, we'll head into the heart of the creator. As always, thanks for watching. Till next time.